Welcome to Puro Pinche Sports. I am your host, Jose Garza, and tonight I'm joined by my co-host Arturo Ibarra. What is going on, brother?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Family sick, bro. Dogs are having seizures, or just trying to stay, healthy over here as best as possible. But we can't talk about my family's health or the events coming up for your family. We gotta talk about what happened today on, November 1st, the trade deadline for the NFL, brother. Players have been moved, picks have been made, for teams, and there's a lot of changes going on in the NFL. What overall, before we start talking about each individual, like what the teams did, like what are your thoughts overall on today's like craziness?
Man, I think it was crazy, especially just because of how many moves that were made. Like, I was not expecting that many to be made. Especially, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's the highest year or in the NFL that
Hmm.
any trades have been. Like, I think usually it's like two or three, maybe five, but this time it was like 10 and almost more than that. So it was kind of interesting to see all that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll discuss also some of the trades that are made for the last few weeks, whether it was drama or some stunning moves that we saw. But I mean, just overall, I just think this adds to the depth for the playoff teams. Whoa, you got to fly over there or something? You got a ghost? You about to smack Casper face off? What's
Nah,
going on?
dude, there's two flies, man, just flying around right now.
Man,
I hit one, but they just keep coming back.
I know, bro. I mean, I gotta use my own bare hands sometimes to just crush them. It's okay. It happens sometimes out here in Texas.
Look, it came back.
See, what?
What to whack it down?
Let's go ahead and get into it, Art. Let's go. Let's discuss some teams that have made themselves better. I'm gonna start with the Panthers. Primarily because they traded away some key weapons just to really add some depth to themselves. So this will include also the Niners and the Cardinals. So the Panthers traded away Christian McCaffrey to the Niners and Robbie Anderson to the Cardinals. They've gotten six picks out of it. Some for next year, year after that, and even the year after that. So overall, who do you think won these trades? Do you think like these teams got better because of the weapons they got, or did the Panthers win the trades because now they know they're in rebuilding mode and they have like six new picks?
So from those guys and how they made the move, I would put for this season, I would put the 49ers, I would put the Panthers, and then I would put at the end, I
Cardinals.
would put yeah. The only reason why is because for this season, like yes, the Panthers they're going into a full rebuild. That's what they're doing. That's why they're getting so many picks. That's why they're trading those players out. The
Mm.
49ers, I think this puts them in now a better contention rate, knowing that they have a better catching back. Yes, they did trade away one of their running backs on Jeff Wilson to Miami. You still have Elijah Mitchell. He's coming back. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to utilize both backs on it. Both of them have great talent. One of them just hasn't been able to stay healthy. The other one, yeah, he has his ups and downs too, but I think this opens the field more, and we saw that this past game. So I like the 49ers for this season. If we're talking longer run, then I would say the
Do,
Panthers got the better end of it.
do you like how Christian McCaffrey was used as the weapon he is, or do you like him more as the position man? Because we saw him be used as a weapon where he threw a touchdown, he ran a touchdown, he caught a touchdown. So he was a real, Swiss Army knife right there. So do you like him more as a weapon, or do you think like the standard running back is more the method he needs to go in this Kyle Shanahan's offense?
Man, I think the 49ers found their Taysom Hill as a running back. And at the end of the day, when you utilize them in the correct setting, it is great for your football team. It relieves, like, I think the way that they used McCaffrey this past game was great. It shows what Carolina did with him when he was healthier at the beginning. Now, the way that they're using him, it lets some of that, like, I don't know, it lets Debo be Debo. Like, he's not gonna get hurt as much. Garoppolo's not gonna get hurt as much. Kittle, yes, he can
And
block and
Debo didn't
everything.
play. Debo did not even play that game, and look how
Exactly.
awesome they looked with even without him against the Rams, against the champs.
And that's usually what they do with Debo or Ayuk, though. They're the ones either throwing the little passes or they're doing the little wildcat or they're doing the little jet runs and everything. So I like the way they use McCaffrey. I want to see how they use McCaffrey and Debo. That's going to be crazy. when they get Elijah Mitchell back, like you're gonna have Kittle, Devo, Elijah, you're gonna have McCaffrey, and then you're gonna have Ayuk. Like that's a scary like top five right there. And even if it wasn't Garoppolo, dude, even if they put Trey Lance there, I think the offense would be different. But I don't know if it would work the same with Trey Lance under center, though. That's my only concern with this.
That's just unknown stuff. That's not really because I think people should discredit him or anything like that. I think that's just unknown. Like, hey, I haven't really seen much film on you. We haven't seen you how you do on the NFL field, you know. So I think we need to remember like that's the main thing too. Like we haven't seen him that way versus like I heard reports, I heard people say he's not doing well. Like we don't know that because sometimes, you know, last year, I'm gonna use the Bengals again. Joe Burrow didn't look good in the offseason. Jamar Chase couldn't tell how the ball is coming because there's no white stripe on it. You know, shit like that. Like we heard that kind of like stuff. So and then what happened? Super Bowl bound. You know, crazy,
Yeah.
right? But like again, like I want to see Trey Lance be out there on the field because we've had
No,
5 minutes of him and it's like that's not enough to evaluate.
and it's not that I discredit him. It's just what I've seen from college. You know, he has the talent. He's great, but he did have one of the biggest interception ratios, and he did get flustered underneath the pocket, so he was prone. The way that they're implementing these weapons is so that there is a pocket quarterback. I don't think he's developed just yet, and he hasn't had the chance to develop the same way as a pocket passer as he should. And I hope when he comes back, man, he proves everyone wrong just the same way that Joe Burrow did. Like, that's what I want to see from Trey Lance next year. Like, I hope he comes back healthy. I hope, like, he takes over the job and, you know, shuts down the haters, man. Like, I do believe he's the future for the franchise, though, but we just have to see something from him. It's the same thing with Mac Jones, dude. I think the coaches need to build for him instead of and give him the confidence of it. Not what they did. Like you kept Jimmy on the roster. Like that's not going to give your QB1 confidence that he's the one. So, but that's my take on that.
Yeah, I mean the Panthers side, obviously they're rebuilding. I mean, it is what it is. PJ Walker is not their future. Baker Mayfield's not their future. Sam Darnold is not their future. Like DJ Moore won't be there long either. Like there's a lot of things going on over there. Now, how do you feel about the Panthers refusing 2 first-round picks from the Rams to get one of the defensive ends?
So that's 2 first rounders, man. If you're overpaying, I don't know if they were overpaying. I don't know who the player is, but the fact that they were giving 2 first rounds to a team that's rebuilding, you could trade those 2 first rounds to someone else and make more picks later down in the draft. I think I would have done that if you're rebuilding, but I don't know. It depends who the player was. I think at the end of the day,
It was
thing.
for defensive end Brian Burns. So it was a defensive end. You know, it's your front 4. You know, they're giving you 2 first-round picks. We don't know which picks they are because obviously the Rams have traded away a lot of their first-round picks. So this could be like years down the line. So maybe that was like one of their biggest concerns that they didn't want something like 2029 or something like that.
I mean, if it's like a later 2, 3, 4 years from now, then I get why. But you could have still gotten those picks, traded them in for something sooner. But I don't know. I think they had already lost a bunch of them. But I think if you're going into a full rebuild, you might as well just get as many picks as you can.
For sure. And then for the Cardinals, there's really nothing much to say. Robbie Anderson to me is just declining in his own right. And plus, you got DeAndre Hopkins back on there. Eventually, Hollywood Brown will be back on the field. So Robbie Anderson's value is going to, lessen this because you got AJ Green, Rondale Moore. There's just too many mouths to feed in Arizona. So I just don't think – I think that's like a D grade for me for the Cardinals. But they didn't give up much for it. They gave up like a 6 and 7, so it's not too much there. Let's go with something that's a little more newsworthy from today. So, the Bears. We'll go back to the Bears. They have a lot of picks, and this is not just from today. Actually, this is from last week too, or it's a few days ago, right? It wasn't even last week.
It was back-to-back days, man. I think it was like 3 days, and then so it was before the Pats game. It was 3 days before the Pats game, and then
No, it was after the Pats game. It was after the Pats game, before the Cowboys game, and then now. So it was last week and this week. So, anyways,
Yeah.
Robert Quinn has been traded away to the Eagles for a 4th-round pick. Roquan Smith has been traded away to the Bears for AJ Klein, a linebacker,
To the Ravens.
to the Ravens for a 2nd pick and a 5th-round pick for the 2023 draft. And they traded for Chase Claypool from the Steelers for a 2nd-round pick. Art, this is clearly moves that Ryan Poles, your GM, is making for the team. How are you liking these moves for them overall? And what letter grade would you give for them from what they had to give up to receive back?
So I think overall, like if we put all the picks in, I would give them a B minus. B minus, almost a C plus. The only reason why I'm saying that is because
lower than I thought you would say.
No, the reason why I'm saying B minus, like I'm sticking with B minus, but I could give them a C plus for that. The reason why is because of the Claypool trade. I think they did give up too much for Claypool just because of what you just got. Like I think you could go for better in the draft, get a better player, get something, develop it. I get he's a veteran. That's why they wanted him. They want more of that connection that he has of the short play. He's a quick little player. He's like a small little tight end. So I like the move. I just don't know if I would have given a 2nd-round pick. But that's what they were asking for. I think we talked about this. They were asking for a 2nd and a later round pick.
I believe you said a 5th on the text.
Yeah.
But they only got the 1 pick.
They only got the 1.
So is it an L on their part for not getting the 2nd pick, or what are you thinking?
No, I think, like I said, at the end of the day, I think it was a great move, especially I think for for Robert Quinn, I think they should have gone a little bit higher. I think they should have traded him earlier in the season after last season. This year, he hasn't really had that potential. I like where he landed with the Eagles. It's going to be a nice little key piece for them to use on their Super Bowl run. The Roquan Smith one, it's kind of hard though, because you like the player. He had that.
But he also won it out early this season.
He had that captain, but yet again, he won it out. He was gonna, we were either gonna franchise tag him or you were gonna sign him. So this opens up cap space for next season, which, hey, you're going into full rebuild, get as much money as you can, get as many picks as you can. Overall, though, I think the Roquan Smith one, I like that one. If I'm breaking them up, I think that's a B plus. The first trade that they did, I would go with a B minus, and then the Chase Claypool one, I would go C plus for that. So I like that they got him. I like that Green Bay didn't get it, because I know that they sent an offer and it was a low ball. So
no, apparently they also offered a 2nd-round pick.
Was it lower though?
But I think, because of where their standings are, or where they assume it's going to be later on, I think they think the Bears will be a lower seed compared to Packers. So I think that's what it is, because if it's their own, if the Bears end up with a worse record than the Packers, it'll be a better pick for them. So I think that's kind of what they took into value for this decision, honestly. But they didn't lowball them. They actually did offer them the same pick. It's just the position.
Did they come out though? Because I know Alex said that that they had offered like some 2 picks like down the draft though.
No, the reports that I saw from a few sources said that they did offer a 2nd-round pick. But again, I think that's just
where the standings are going to go with.
Yeah. What the Steelers just thinking the Packers will end up with a better record than the Bears, and the pick better overall will be the Bears pick.
Man, imagine if that's not the case.
That's the Steelers gamble, but
like that's going to suck. But I mean, overall, I think it was good. You're giving Justin Fields another weapon. You're showing him, hey, here's another wide receiver. Here's another weapon you can use. I like that it's going to open the field now with Claypool and Mooney. And we've seen what they were able to do with Pettis, with St. Brown, and N'Keal Harry. Yes, he hasn't played, but it opens up the field more. They're getting used to him. They're receivers that, hey, they just need a new change of scenery. So they're making plays. They're making catches. I hope that they just fix the O-line, man. Like I think at the end of the day, they're not bad. They're making changes and everything, but he needs a little help. So against the Dolphins, we'll see how this goes. They have allowed some of the higher points on against the Dolphins, so we'll see. We'll see if the running game against the Bears just lets them score points, man, and see how they take care of Hill and Waddle. Though it's gonna be interesting.
Let's go with the Jaguars next. They made some moves earlier and last week and then now this week. So they traded away James Robinson to secure Brees Hall as their number one guy. No, not Brees Hall. Travis Etienne.
Yeah.
Travis Etienne.
Yep.
And then that covers for the Brees Hall loss for the Jets. But they also ended up getting Calvin Ridley, who's suspended for the season. And he's going to be a true wide receiver number one for next
betting
year
against them.
against the Falcons. Yeah, their stupid system suspension is dumb. But overall, like, how are you feeling about the Jags moves? Yes, they lost their running back, but they gained a very credible wide receiver.
Dude, I love this trade, and the reason why is because you got him at a cheap. Yes, if he gets like there's a ton that goes behind and underneath that trade. But I like where this ended. I like what they got for him, especially the pick wise. But next year, he has a true one. He has Kirk. They traded away Edmonds. So that's not bad at all, man. I like what they did. This is a good pickup.
What do you think so far as the Jaguars results? Like, for example, like they've started hot 2-1, but they've regressed since. Like, is it more the weapons, the defense? What do you think the Jaguars need to focus on?
It's not their defense. They have a good defense, but the secondary is kind of slow. I think at the end of the day, it's their time of possession. Their run game is working for them. Like ATN is moving the ball. Dude, he's gaining like 40 plus yards down the field. Like they're making the blocks. It's just the receivers are not getting open, or they're actually dropping balls though. Like Trevor Lawrence is putting the ball right on their freaking chest, man. And Kirk, Marvin Jones, man, they're all freaking dropping the damn ball. So I think at the end of the day, it's the receivers. So them going for Ridley, I think this helps them. Their only two better weapons is Kirk, Ingram, and ATN. And I think the ones that move the ball the most it's ATN. So it's just kind of sad to see that they're going down the same road as the Lions, man. Like they're getting up on the board, they're moving the ball, they're scoring, and then at the end of the day, they just can't keep up at the last minute. The last 3 games they should have won.
Let me ask you about the Falcons, because obviously we've seen them be kind of like a mysterious 500 team right now. They lead the division, but they gave up a lot of players for really low picks, and then they traded for the Chiefs cornerback. So what are the Falcons really doing? Are they really doing something to help themselves now, or are they just because the picks they got are like 5th and lower for the next few years? It's not even like high picks. So what are we doing? Like they didn't really get much, in my opinion, from the Calvin Ridley trade.
I think this was dumb. It was a stupid trade for Atlanta because they're like Calvin Ridley won their conditional pick that they're gonna get. What else did they get? Let's see.
Well, they got a second for 2024, round. But it's not really like the best sexy pick. Like it could be even lower if that's also saying like if it's at best they'd sign them to a long-term deal, and the Jaguars don't have to do that now until they see how they feel about them. So it could even be as low as like a 4th round pick. It doesn't really give them the value. So I'm just wondering what really the Falcons are doing. I mean, especially when you don't even have a QB that you like really trust. Like Marcus Mariota's fine and all, but is he your future? Like you drafted a quarterback, you don't want to see how he does, but I guess you're winning the division. So I don't know. I'm just confused with what their actions.
It's like you're winning the division, but at the same time you're tanking. Like, yeah, I don't know what they're doing though. Honestly, like I guess they're trying to see like how far they can get and see if they can be a contender. I mean, they are a contender right now, but they're giving up way too much. So I don't know. It's weird to see them do that. honestly, man, I think if you're gonna tank the season, you're just gonna be like, you know what? Okay, we're gonna rebuild. You do what the Panthers and the Bears are doing. You do what some of these other teams are doing. Of give me picks, or you go and get better weapons to get you further down the run. But that's just me.
No, I get you, man. And then overall, let's go to the Chiefs, who they made that trade with to get Rashad Fenton. What do you have as far as like their future? Because a lot of the biggest things concerns that people had was Tyreek Hill's not there. Tyreek Hill will, that's a huge loss, and obviously that hasn't really been the case. It's more sometimes Patrick's decision makings in crucial moments, like some end zone interceptions that didn't happen. But now he's getting Kadarius Toney. He got, from the Giants. Where do you think Kadarius Toney, who's only in the second year, how real value does he bring? This Chiefs team that's already stacked with a lot of, a lot of weapons, but not like grade A weapons.
So I like Kadarius Toney when he went to the Giants, and I know a lot of the fans were like, "Ah, like we got who the hell is Kadarius Toney?" And they did the same thing with Wonder Robinson. Like you're drafting good wide receivers, you're just not using them the way that they should be used. So I think at the end of the day, him going to the Kansas City Chiefs, though, I like this move also because it's gonna open that field at that slot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think overall, it's gonna be better. Like he doesn't have he doesn't have an actual receiver. Like he has a bunch of other guys. So we'll see how this goes. I like the move, but we'll see.
I mean, overall, I think Kadarius Toney brings a lot of what I want to say. A lot of strength, a lot of he can win his one on ones. His route running still needs some development, but I think overall, like something he has that only maybe Travis Kelsey has is like the power to like rip it away from like a defender if it's a one on one situation. McCall Hardman's a speedster. He's supposed to be like the replacement for Tyreek Hill. Juju Smith-Schuster is a better route runner, and we'll see how he continues as long as he's healthy. MVS hasn't really not been any of a factor this season. Sky Moore is a rookie, so he gets maybe a few targets here and there, but he's not really being used as a huge factor. He will later on. I can really sense Sky Moore will be a big, bright future for the Chiefs. But I think what Kadarius Toney does is bringing that muscle, like that one-on-one, something kind of like how, um, Amari Cooper can bring for the Browns what if used right, if now this is a second chance N'Keal Harry can bring for the Bears. He's 6'5" and stuff like that. So that's something you could really look into Kadarius Toney. Another big one that we know our buddy Trey has kind of been disappointed with was that he lost some valuable pieces in Bradley Chubb, and now they really reloaded again in picks, and they got a defensive tackle. They got Chase Edmonds to kind of like cover for the Javonte Williams injury. Where do you see the Broncos? Do you think they've already tapped out for the season, or do you think this is like good moves for them for the rest of the season?
I honestly think it sucks defense wise because Chubb, man, he was a good pass rusher. But you have Murray and you have Gordon, dude. Like I think at the end of the day, you should utilize them the way that they should be utilized. Like you have Gordon, you have Murray, you have Judy, and you have Sun. Like you're not passing the ball, you're not moving the ball. It's the O line. Like at the end of the day, it's the O line. It's Russ. So,
But is it just them? Is it not really Nathaniel Hackett? Because at this point, I do think like he's gonna be one and done. Like this new management for the Broncos, which I've said it to Trey before, it's like they didn't hire Nathaniel Hackett. The previous management did, and I think he's really like on ice skates. Like he's really on his way out. And I think that after that, you'll get a better play caller, maybe a more offensive minded coach. Because not really, I mean, because he's supposed to be an offensive minded coach, but he's not. He's not that good. Like we've seen the same thing with Josh McDaniels in Vegas with the Raiders. So, I mean, I don't know. I just think like, I mean, also like who would you get to replace Nathaniel Hackett? But man, and part of it's Russ too. He doesn't really have that connection. I think maybe I don't know if it's for sure. Maybe his own teammates just don't like him. We'll see now with Seahawks.
I could see that honestly. Like he's so Russ is good. He's a good person. He's a good QB. We've seen it in Seattle. I think he gets way too much in his head. The same way that Cam Newton started getting into his head later on. Like you think you're this Superman, you're this like badass guy that can do whatever. Like, all right, prove it. Like you want to be that. All right, let's ride it out, man. Like whatever you want to do. But you have the weapon. You have Judy and you have Sutton. Though. Like at the beginning of the season, I really like this team to be a contender for the Super Bowl. Like I think they had it with their defense and now with the upgrade in the offense. They're like in completely two different like worlds. Like their offensive line is somewhere else, Russ is somewhere else, and their receivers are nowhere to be found, man. So I think at I think
I
at
mean,
the end of the
it
day, I don't
tells
know
you
how
a lot.
long.
It tells you a lot too when Jerry Judy is like available for to be traded. Like I think that tells you a lot because Jerry Judy has not really had the chance in Denver to like really explode because he's had shitty quarterbacks. And now you're supposed to get this possible future Hall of Famer, and it just doesn't seem like the chemistry is all there. Where Jerry Judy, like, you had Judy and Sutton like looking forward to them being like a top, duo team, with Russ. But man, they're at the bottom of the board just because of like with everything going on,
Here's the thing: you have Russell till 2028.
which is dumb. They didn't have to extend them too.
I think you should have traded Judy away. Trade Judy away, see what you could get as in picks or in a player. Like you have Sutton. Sutton's okay. Like he gets the separation and everything. But you needed to trade Judy out. I think you should have traded Judy out instead of Chubb. That's my point of view. You would not have gotten the same thing, but
I think that's a big thing that they wouldn't gotten the first, and that's what they wanted.
yeah. But I think at the end of the day, it's like, what are they going to do with that first? Are they going
Well,
to go O line? Are they going to go
well, I mean,
defensive line?
I think that's always one of the key values of a first round. It's like, sometimes you don't, unless it's a QB, you don't really go for the wide receiver or the running back because they're not always guaranteed, especially the running back. So you go for the defensive lineman or you go for the offensive lineman, and I think either one is a good move. I know Trey wasn't ready to call it quits, especially after they got the win on Sunday over the Jaguars. I knew that he wanted to still see what they can do with Chubb and everybody. As long as they're still fighting. But overall, the Broncos are already looking to the future. I'm pretty sure this was more, like I mentioned, the new management's power play. Like this is something that they wanted. Not to say they didn't like Chubb, but I think they like that idea of because of how low they are in the standings. They could be a top 5, top 10 pick. Um, Not to say they can't get like 7 or 8 wins still, right? Anything could happen, especially in that division. But they're the worst of their division right now, hands down. It's like, and they have an extra win over the Raiders, but the Raiders kicked their ass.
Yep.
So they're the worst in the division. And it's what's funny. I remember when I said when we were ranking like the teams when Jay was on, Trey and Alex and all of y'all looked at me and like, you have the Broncos at the bottom.
You were right.
Well, I mean I didn't want to be right. I just didn't think the
That was
development.
actually going to come true.
Well, no, it's not. I didn't think the development what that they had was enough to overcome the Chiefs. Mind you, I had the Chiefs third, so that's where and the Raiders won, so that's where I'm off there too. Should have swapped those two, but what but what we should have also kept in mind too was how Russ acted last year, and a lot of it's probably our fault. Maybe we blame Pete Carroll a little more than we should have, and we gave Russ a pass, but Russ has clearly been an issue with his team chemistry wise. I would say for a few years now since he got the contract extension with the Seahawks, when he was like, "Oh well, if you don't want me, I could always go to Chicago, or I could always go to Denver now." Yada yada yada. And this was only a few years ago. This wasn't like this past offseason. So,
Man, did we dodge a bullet?
well, again, we also don't know like you know how he could be with y'all, but because it might be the same as you are now with Justin Fields, which is what you shouldn't be expecting. You might as well pay cheap for the guy you have now versus paying like 25 mil for the veteran who's declining in his age.
Yep. No, I get that. I see that, but I think this whole season has been kind of crazy on where some of the teams are standing. Though I don't think we saw a lot of the big contenders to be where they're at. Like the Raiders, dude. Like Raiders, the Chargers. Like it's a shit show.
By the way, I'm gonna tell you again. He is not a top 5 quarterback. Justin Herbert is not a top 5. Okay, I have no problem saying that. What is 4-3? That's not impressive. Get the fuck out of here. That is not impressive. You telling me 4-3 is impressive? You think that's top 5? Like, yeah, he's barely gonna probably make the playoffs if he even makes it, dude. Because guess what? And this sounds stupid. The Jets almost have a better chance of making the playoffs than the Chargers. That's sad. I don't want to say that. I hate saying that.
The Falcons have a better chance of getting in there.
I mean, they're in a different conference, but I mean, I'm talking about like conference wise. Like you're right there neck and neck with the Colts, with the Patriots, with the Jets. I mean, the Browns got an impressive win. Like you're not kind of like in that area. Like, oh, but and I know I'm going to hear the excuses from Chargers fans. We don't have Keenan Allen. His ankle's hurting. It's not doing well. Nah. You called this kid the prodigy. Everyone's been giving him hype. Art ranked him second. Everyone else ranked him top 5. I barely had him in the top 10. This kid's not playing like a top 10 QB. Not in the AFC. The AFC is fucking tight. And one mistake, and you can be out of the playoffs. And that's all it takes. Because guess what? The Chargers might have had that nice win against the Raiders to open the season. So that might not happen at the end of the season. And what if the Raiders spoil your fun to making the playoffs? What if the Jets get past you? What if the Browns with Jacoby Brissett and Deshaun Watson get past you? Ugh. Wakalas. And let's talk about the playoff teams that made the biggest moves. Let's go and start with the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins, like we said, traded for Bradley Chubb. They traded for Jeff Wilson from the Niners. They got some picks on top of that as well. Art, they look like they're ready to make that move, man, to say we want the AFC East. Could this be the year that the Dolphins sneak into the playoffs and by next year they are the AFC East champions?
I could see that happening, honestly. Tua is playing like a quarterback. A lot of people doubted him. And those 2 upgrades, man, at Hill and Waddle, man, that's fucking crazy.
Cool. Can I mention real quick before you continue? Then we mentioned the fact that we forgot this. I know we all did because we don't keep track on this, and we saw the stat. They turned around the 3rd round pick for the 2021 draft. They gave it to the Niners, and they got all these other picks, and they used it to be able to draft Jalen Waddle. They used it to pick up Tyreek Hill. They used it to get Bradley Chubb. They used 3 first-round picks just to give up the 3rd overall pick, which is Trey Lance, to get a stacked all-star team, in my opinion, out, to help the QB, because QB is not all-star yet, right? But, man, you put the guys around him, Waddle, which is his teammate in Alabama, Tyreek Hill, one of the top 5 wide receivers, you can argue where you want him there, and Bradley Chubb, a scary top 10 defensive end, maybe top 5, depending on who you are. But I mean, just a way to see like what you turned out around to be. Plus, you have Mike McDaniel, a guy from the Kyle Shanahan system, a guy from like that whole group from the Niners and stuff like that. With the offensive scheme they have found a way. When Tua is healthy, it's almost unbeatable, right? Like, because what? They're 5-3.
Yep.
With Tua, he's 5-1. The one being where he got knocked the fuck out and he was making gang signs. Other than that, and they beat the Bills in a game where the Bills had over 40 minutes of time of possession. Art, I really think the Dolphins have a chance to steal the division by next year. I won't say this year because the respective Bills, they only have 1 loss right now, and not to say that they can't lose some more, but respectively, let's just say the Dolphins are the only team to beat them, and they only end up with 2 losses. that's still crushing in some ways. Dolphins can end up being AFC East champions, real contenders by next year. I mean, this year I do think they're strongly considered for the playoffs. But overall, what are you thinking?
Honestly, man, I like it. It's a team that I don't think a lot of people expected them
I
to
did.
be the contenders. But they're proving a lot, man. And the fact that Hill is able to be where he's at, like I think he's putting better numbers than he was in Kansas. So
I think Tua's taking the opportunity to go more of his deep shots for him. But to be fair, Tyreek Hill's also bailing him out sometimes because he does have to come back for those short passes. They're
yep.
not all bombs. They're just some that are short, and he has to come back and get them. But he is able to get them, and to have the number one and the number four in receiving yards players on your
That's
team.
good. That's good.
That and Alex had him as his number one coming into the season. I had them as my number two, and I just think, man, obviously there's not a most improved player, right? Kind of award kind of thing. But if there was, Tua's going to get a lot of credit because when he's healthy or when he started games, right now he's 5-1. So that's a big thing. And you're getting Tyreek Hill, his yardage that he wants because he felt like he wasn't going to get it as much anymore on the Chiefs. So you keep his confidence up. Overall, if you see them going against the Bills or the Chiefs in the playoffs, what realistic chance, what kind of percentage do you give them of beating them? Like 100% max, 50-50 or 40-60? What do you got?
For beating who though?
The Chiefs or the Bills, like to get past them?
I can see them. I can see them beating the Bills, and I can see them beating the Chiefs because they have the speed, they have the defense, and it's just their play calling. Though I think the fact that they move too fast and they're able to hold I mean they held the ground the Bills in Miami. So whatever, yes, the heat was crazy and everything, but I think at the end of the day they were able to keep it contained, and I think they're able to do that with the Chiefs as well.
You know what's crazy? And it's not because like it's imagine if the Dolphins you have to run through Hard Rock Stadium, if they were to win the division and you had to go through them. You know how tough it is to beat the Dolphins? It is
It's
hot
gonna be
over there.
crazy.
The Vikings, were stuck on a sideline where it was 120 degrees on their side versus like the 90, 80 degrees the Dolphins had. So like the weather is really effective. So I mean the Chiefs, the Bills better hope they don't have to go through the Dolphins stadium to do it. Obviously, right now it looks like you're gonna have to go through Buffalo. But man, I mean, I'm telling you right now, I'm liking what they're doing. And Mike McDaniel is a fantastic play caller. He's a fantastic head coach over there for the Miami Dolphins, and I think what he's doing outside of the Tua concussion is really remarkable, especially for a first-year head coach. He's the standard of what everybody wanted for their first-year head coaches: Nathaniel Hackett, Eberflus, and et cetera, et cetera. And we're seeing something big. So I mean, do you think they're one of your top four teams right now going into the playoffs? I mean, obviously we're not even halfway into the season, but what are you thinking?
So my top four teams to make it to the playoffs right now, like
Just overall, not even division winners. Just give me your overall, like who your four best AFC teams.
so I like the Chiefs.
All right, respect them.
So do you want me to name them like top to bottom?
You could name. You can just name them. You don't have to put them in order.
Okay. So Chiefs, Bills,
All right.
the Eagles,
No, AFC, AFC.
or just AFC.
Yeah.
Bills, Dolphins, Chiefs, and I think that's it, man. I think the Jets sneaking in there. I think they're
So you don't even have the Ravens in your top four. Do you see a
oh
huge
shit.
decline from
Hold
them,
on.
or what are you thinking?
No, so the reason why it's because I just pulled it up right now. I forgot the Ravens were in that.
Okay.
So yeah, so I like Bills, Dolphins, Chiefs, Ravens, and then I would sneakily put the Jets in.
And there's no guarantee, right, that the Jets will get in. Obviously, Zach Wilson sees ghosts on the field, just like Sam Darnold does, and anything happen. Chargers can get in there. There's 7 teams that can get in there. Anything could happen, but and then Titans will always be like a dark horse team with Derrick Henry. How do you? By the way, we didn't really talk about the Titans because I don't think they really made any moves. But like, how do you feel about Malik Willis taking over?
I
The
mean, he
rookie.
didn't. He played against Texan,
That's what
and
I'm saying.
he didn't do anything. He didn't run. Like even if he tried running, they stopped him. So I like him future wise. I don't like him for the season though. And I know I picked him up on my fantasy, and then I dropped him, and then Alex picked him up, and he played him.
Wasn't good.
That was a nice little mine to drop, but um, I mean, not like I'm a contender or anything on our fantasy right now, man. Fucking injuries just plague my team, so we'll see. Maybe I'll upset some teams in there, but I think it's a sneak by the Jets, the Bengals, and the Titans. So, but I think top four right now would be Bills, Dolphins, Chiefs, and Ravens.
And Bill's getting Naheem Hines. You mentioned it at the top of the episode about pass catching. That was what they're aiming for. Does he make a huge difference for you overall? I don't see it too much, but that's just me because he's not he's not a big guy to like run you over.
So I don't see it as a big help. Like I don't think it fixes their problem. I think, and we've talked about that. I think the big problem is in the coaching and how they call plays and how they decide to move the ball around. But the fact that they've been wanting a passing back, why we don't know. They have a game plan for him. Maybe it does help and it does like elevate their offense a little bit more, but we'll have to see on that.
I mean, I get it. It's to help Josh Allen with screens and stuff. You don't trust Zach Moss. You didn't trust Singletary. You don't trust James Cook. So Naheem Hines is a good pass catching back. Like that's not denying that. Like hell, he had a nice last 2 impressive weeks with the Colts before he got traded away. And I think he'll do spectacular with them as far as what they are asking him. But I think what like how I mentioned, how Marco mentioned, how we all agreed, and I think Alex kind of disagreed because he sees him as a heavy favorite, especially with Von Miller and that defense, which I respect. If you don't have a run game in December, January, when it's super cold, when I mean, look at the fucking game between Bills and Patriots. Don't get me wrong. We know the Bills were a better team in that snow game, right? Like, there's no denying that. But you didn't have a run game. You allowed the Patriots run game and Mac Jones's 3 attempted passes to beat you at home. You know what that tells me? And you still don't fix that? It tells me you're not ready to be, taken seriously past the Chiefs. Because yes, you can beat the Chiefs in the regular season. That's fine. You know what you do in the regular season, knowing that you'll see them again in the playoffs. You battle them with what they got. Like they're taking notes. Andy Reid's taking notes. You know, Stefanski's taking notes. Like I don't even think it's Stefanski. I'm thinking of the Browns head coach. But anyways, like they're taking notes. Like they know what you're gonna come up with because it's Josh Allen's arm and it's Josh Allen's legs, and that's it. You're not really being creative. December, January, it's hard nosed running football that wins you these games, especially in these outdoor stadiums. If we're gonna go through Buffalo, guess what? Patrick Mahomes has legs. He will run. They have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He will run. Jared McKinnon, run. Isaiah Pacheco, run. Ronald Jones, if they decide to actually use him, run. You can use a jet sweep, with Juju or with Sky Moore. You get all these things. You use the run, and I'm concerned Bills are way too heavily reliant on Josh Allen. And that's not good for his health long term. And it's not going to get you a title. Guess what? The Patriots, and I'm going to use them because they're the freaking big example that they've had to face for the last 4 years. It wasn't always Tom Brady. It was the running backs a lot of times that got the job done. You know how we beat the Chiefs in the regular season and in the playoffs? We used our running backs. We used them big, and we used our Hall of Fame quarterback with his slot receiver and his tight end when we need to. But what got y'all was the running backs. You couldn't stop it in the cold because that's what they did. Bills don't have that. How are you going to stop Mahomes? Just, you just really can't. What did the Buccaneers do? They used their Hall of Fame quarterback when they needed to, but Leonard Fournette was the guy that year or that postseason. So I just, for Bills Mafia, you don't have to like it. Fine. Fuck me. I don't give a damn shit. But you're not going to get far if you don't have a run game. Sean McDermott needs to turn around and make a run game. I hope Naeem Hines is used for one, but I very much doubt it because they're looking for a pass catching back.
At the end of the day, it's the way that the coach is able to, like change its ways and adapt to the game and see what's working. We'll see if they're able to do that. But like you said, man, everything goes through Josh Allen. Josh Allen is the passing guy, and he's the runner right now. So hopefully they can use Hines since they got him. But I do see them choking it against the Chiefs. I see that really, really likely. But they were able to. I mean, I think at the end of the day, they have to be up to be able to beat them, and they have to maintain a possession of the game. So we'll see if that actually works out in their favor with this, with their obtaining of Hines.
And let's close out the episode with one of the real dark horses. Or I mean, I know that they win the division, but the Vikings traded within the division for T.J. Hawkinson, and now you might think they have a more chance to use a run game or for pass, for the tight end blocks and stuff like that. Our Vikings are trying to find ways, trying to find that key to defeat the Eagles because they're clearly the favorites. They got smoked by them in week 2. How much does the TJ Hawkinson go into Minnesota help them become real Super Bowl contenders?
So I'm not really liking the trade. I mean, you traded him within the division, first of all. Why? Like they haven't used TJ in the way that he should be used. I think at the end of the day, it's going to open another mouth to feed for Kirk. It helps them on the long run. But I still don't think that fixes the issue that they have in the passing. Like, they're not using those weapons that they already have the way that they should be used. Like, this is supposed to be like letting.
How should it be used?
So my understanding is that whenever they hired the coach was because he was under the same mindset as what the Rams played with the Cooper Cup and letting him open and all that. Like, and we saw that the first 2 games, like Jefferson just went crazy. After that, it just went downhill from that. Their way that they're using Cook, I mean, yeah, they're running the ball, they're being proficient in everything, but when it gets to the end zone or the red zone, they're not able to do much about it. I like TJ as a blocking tight end, though, if that's the way that he's going to be used. If he's going to be used as a blocking tight end to allow for Cook or give Cook more help or Madison, or be able to block and then run, kind of like what we saw with Kemet last week against the Cowboys, like, then I like that. If they utilize him in the correct way. If they're thinking that he's going to be an Andrews or a Kelsey, I don't see that happening. I think he's more of a Kittle kind of tight end where if he needs to block, he needs to be one of the best blockers though. But I don't think they're getting a Kittle they're not getting a Kelsey or an Andrews from TJ. I think it's a different completely set of game from them. We'll see how this works out, but
I think this one, I think it's a good trade, not because they're booty chicks or anything like that, right? But I think Coach O'Connell is looking for more of a sturdy offensive weapons. We know how talented TJ Hawkinson is, right? Like if you just hand him give him the ball, throw it to him accurately, like he'll make the plays to like. And that's what I was saying earlier. Like, I think he could be a mix of both. I think he could be like a Gronk where he can be the blocking tight end and the pass catching tight end. That's, and he doesn't have to do like, he could be 60-40. Now he doesn't have to be like, 50-50 or anything like that. Or he doesn't have to be like one way or the other. I think he brings that extra mix because what you're talking about with Justin Jefferson, like kind of numbers of target wise or receptions wise, I think that has a lot to do with the opponents figuring him out, with his route running and all this and his their style. Eagles shut it down because they have the best defense. That you had Slay and Bradbury, keeping fucking him locked down week 2.
Mhm.
And then the following weeks that moved on, like it's the same thing. Like you put their top, it's gonna be things like he has to beat his man, and sometimes he wasn't beating his man. That's also the main thing too. I think this allows to lessen the pressure of a double team because you're allowing Hawkinson to be out there now. He's better than Irv Smith, who's going to be out for the next 2-3 months. He's better than that. So now you're opening the field a lot more. You're allowing the run game to have more opportunity. That I feel the run game hasn't been as effective. Last week it was very effective, I think, in my opinion. But prior to that, it wasn't being as effective, even though they're like 6-1. Or are they 7-1? No, 6-1. 6-1. I don't know. 7-1? I forgot. Anyways, they only have one loss. Then they're looking hella good right now. Overall, do you think the Vikings right now are the second or third best team in the NFC? Because I have them in top 3 at least, but do you think they're second or third? Or do you think they're lower than that?
I think they're about right. It's just, man, that North Division, man, it always gets crazy whenever they play.
Oh yeah, the Chiefs get they clinch up real tight, especially against that Lions game where they almost lost.
Yeah, it's gonna be a crazy way that it goes, and I think it's gonna. I want to see what happens in the next few weeks whenever they play against division teams. Like whenever they play against the Packers, whenever they play against the Lions again, and whenever the Bears play against them, like vice versa, we'll see where that ends. But if the Vikings are in that third place, I think they should be able to beat their division rivals and upset some other teams. But if they don't, then I think we were just blinded. We had a blindfold on.
Oh, so far right now they're 3-0 against the division rivals. They've beaten the Bears, the Lions, and the Packers. 2 of them a lot more closer than people probably expected. Packers was kind of a beatdown. Obviously, the last 2 weeks of the season will be Packers and Bears. Bears might get a win just because the Packers might not need the win at the time because I'm pretty sure they're going to clinch the division. It's really hard to see with the way the Packers are playing that they'll win the division at all. So I think like they're going to take it by default almost, right? And congratulations to them if they do. But I think when you have teams with high defenses, top 5, maybe arguably top 3 in the Eagles and the Cowboys, you're going to have a hard time to get the job done to make the conference championship, let alone the Super Bowl.
So, like, for example, you have – that's the thing. Like, so the Seahawks, they've been playing good under Geno Smith.
Defense is slowly stepping up, but they're not top notch.
Have they played the Falcons yet? The Vikings.
The Vikings, they don't play the Falcons at all this season. So so here's your real test. And this is going to be back-to-back weeks in November. Week 10 against the Bills at Buffalo. Week 11 against the Cowboys, but in Minnesota. Those are going to be some real tests for them.
So I think they're able to beat. So here's the thing. I think the Cowboys are beatable. What
do you have to stop the Cowboys? What do you mean by that? Like, where are they beatable at?
So as long as you stop, and yet again, I'm saying this from what I saw against the Bears. The Bears are not the greatest team, and they shouldn't be the greatest team this season. But they were able to stop Micah Parsons. They were able to not throw Diggs, even though he could have made some plays on balls.
I mean, that could have been an off night for Micah Parsons too. Like if you think about it too, like because we've seen him play with the flu and rib injury, or groin injury. I mean,
but I don't think I've seen any other team be able to or be smart in the way that they play against Micah Parsons. They usually just put one guy, and Micah Parsons usually beats them.
But prior to this week, before they traded away like Roquan Smith and stuff like that, do you think the Vikings defense is as effective as the Bears?
No, I
Okay.
think the Bears were more affected on that.
Okay, and so that's what I'm saying. Like at that part, like that, I think and mind you, I think the Bears defense is better slightly than the Vikings. Slightly. I'm not saying like big, numbers or anything like that. But but the Cowboys were still able to put 49 on
So,
them. Where
so
that's why I'm saying like now that you have a healthy Dak back, he's using his tight end Dalton Schultz, CD Lamb, and really moving the ball around. And Tony Pollard is now stepping up as the real RB1. I'm hyping the Cowboys way too much right now. By the way, I'm hating it, but they're
that's
looking
why,
really good. Where I don't think the Vikings are going to beat them in a few weeks.
and that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, if the Bears had not traded away Quinn and Roquan against the Cowboys, I think we would have had a better chance.
Well, you had Roquan. You didn't have Quinn.
No. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think like
If you
overall,
had
like
both, if you had
if we
Eddie,
have both, yes, we would have a better chance with Roquan, with Eddie, with Brisker, with Gordon. Like, I think we would have had a better chance defending the ball though, or stopping the run. And in some ideal work, I don't think the Vikings have that, like that talent to be able to stop the run.
and that's my biggest thing too, because like the week 2 matchup, I'm gonna hold it against them. Like I know it's only week 2, and a lot of people think of it more like preseason. You
Mm-mm.
played a team that's a top offense and defense, and that's what you're gonna face against the Cowboys. Not okay. Correction. Cowboys is not top level offense yet, right? This is their first full game. There's only like the third game with Dak on the field, and that was his first impressive one. But we're not going to deny that the Cowboys have a better offense than the Bears right now, right? We can't deny that.
So I think this will put it to rest. Do you think the Cowboys can score more than 20 points or 25 points on the Vikings?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you think the Bills can score more than 25 points on the Vikings?
Yes.
Then my answer is the Vikings will lose, dude. Like, that's the thing. Like, all of
Okay,
their games,
that's what I was saying.
yeah,
Like those 2
like
games.
all of their past games, the Vikings have been scored on 20 plus points on most of the games.
Now, let me real quick, and you don't have to use this as your official prediction, but I'm pretty sure you will. I'm gonna list down the next games for the Vikings, right? Because their bye week's done. They have like 9 more games to go. So I'm gonna list them, and you tell me if they win or lose. Come against Commanders this Sunday.
They should win.
So that's a win. Bills,
Lose.
Cowboys,
Lose.
Patriots on a
If
short week. On a short week in Thanksgiving.
if they get their shit right in New England,
No, it's in Minnesota.
no. Like, I'm saying, like, if Belichick gets his shit right,
Oh, okay.
with the QB situation, Patriots. Yeah, I'm calling that one an upset because we've seen the defense be able to beat some teams.
The Patriots defense is underrated, but yes, you're right.
So I think the defense stops the Vikings, and if the offense is able to move the ball, they beat the Vikings.
Wow, but like even me as a Patriots fan, that's tough to say. You got Justin Jefferson, Thielen, Hawkinson, Cook, Madison. So I'm gonna hold out my prediction for that to see like how it goes later on. But especially with Mac Jones not playing that well against the Jets, which is kind of like sad. But it's Sauce Gardner on the other side. Okay, against the Jets on my birthday weekend.
They should win.
Okay, Lions.
They should win.
Colts.
Win.
Giants.
Lose.
Lose against the Giants. Why?
The Giants have just been playing in this. I don't know, dude. I don't know what their freaking mindset is.
They're mid, like or offense is low, but their defense is mid. So you're right. It could be an upset. They're 6-2. I didn't have them winning 6 games, but they've somehow made it there.
They're scoring plus 20 points on all of their past games, and that's the thing. Like, all of the past games against the Vikings, that's what it is. That's what they've been giving up. 20 plus points.
Yeah, they've been giving up about 20 plus, but they've also been putting up 25 plus. To be fair, too. Like, let me tell you what they've scored so far: 23, 7, 28, 28, 29, 24, 34. Like
Yeah,
that's
their only low game was against the Eagles, and
yeah,
you're saying the defense against the Eagles, man, that was freaking crazy.
yeah.
But
Okay, January 1st against the Packers in
I
Lambeau. In Lambeau.
they beat the Packers, man.
Okay.
They get another sweep on the Packers.
Okay, and then against the Bears, Soldier Field to end the season. Do they need the win, or it's whatever?
I don't think the Vikings need to win,
Okay,
and if they win the games as we've been saying, and they make some upsets there,
they don't
I
need.
think they don't need to win. I think they sit down, and I think the Bears win that one out of pity. Yet again, I don't think the Bears need that win either if they're rebuilding though. So
So you're okay. So overall, if your prediction's right, they lose their next 5 games. So essentially, they go 11, or not next 5 games. They lose 5 of their next, like 9, 10, whatever it is. So you're saying they go 11-6.
so I'm saying they lose. They should lose
You're saying that you
4.
possibly can see them 3 in a row, and then the Giants, and then maybe the Bears if they don't give a fuck.
Yep.
So that's 5. So that's tough. I have a tough time seeing the Patriots beating them. No offense. It's not the defense again, it's the offense. I have really hard to trust on my offense.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if they get their shit right on the offense for like in the Patriots, then they're
If
able to beat them. But yet again, you could get an upset from the Jets, or you can get that upset from the Lions. So it's still overall, it's like 4 or 5 games that they could lose.
I was about to say that other than the Patriots haven't beaten a team over 500, but they just beat the Jets. So that's not true.
Just imagine, dude, if the Lions beat the Vikings with TJ Hawkinson. Like, the Lions just traded away TJ Hawkinson, but imagine the Lions beat the Vikings without TJ Hawkinson. That would be a freaking like.
You got any other things interesting for you for the season, for the trade deadline, or anything like that you want to before we head out?
Nah, I'm good, man.
All right, then, guys. For Art, I'm Jose Garza. We are Puro Pinche Sports. I'm supposed to just end it there, but I forgot to say my plugs. Follow us on TikTok at Puro Pinche Sports. Fucking enjoying. I know y'all enjoying those videos. Don't lie. You're also gonna see some Puro After Dark videos. Some things that you're not gonna see on episodes, but you're gonna see that we have conversations after the pod, so you can enjoy that. Follow us on Instagram so you can know when the episodes are coming up. Always fun there. Follow us on Twitter for Pinche Sports Pod. For the time being, guys, I'm gonna switch over and just focus the podcast. If I know y'all are watching this more on YouTube, I'm gonna not take down the old episodes, but I'm gonna stop putting them on the podcast, the audio, the Apple, the Google Podcast, and Amazon. And that's more just because of there's some things I can't control. The other like websites are stealing from us, so I need to be able to take back control of this podcast. So I apologize if y'all are a bigger fan of the audio pods, but for the time being, we're gonna just be exclusively the YouTube. Thank you for understanding if you do. But otherwise, that's all that I have for y'all to update it. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And guys, if you get us to 500 subscribers, if we're at 500 by the end of the year, I will wear a tutu, but no pants underneath. Just Jonas. And if you're lucky, maybe Commando.
I'm not showing up.
It'll be a Super Bowl party, but no, there is no attendees. But anyways, guys, once again, for Art, I'm Jose Garza. We are Puro Pinche Sports, guys, and we are out.